Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're going to be doing a September garden tour. I figured since it's the end of September, we might as well get a tour in, and it's been a while since I've done a garden tour. Now, over the past few weeks, you've been seeing a lot of my garden, but there are some things I haven't shown you. Today we're going to be doing some fertilizing. I have an entire Brassica patch that I just haven't bothered to fertilize yet. So we're going to be doing that today. And I'm using this ProMix liquid fertilizer for my garden. And then we're just going to be doing some watering, looking at some of the seeds that we started in our last video and see if they've sprouted, and some issues and challenges that I'm facing in the garden right now. My first frost date is about 2 weeks away, so time is ticking to get everything done in the garden. And I still have a bunch of clearance plants that I'll show you today that I haven't even gotten in the ground. There's still a lot of maintenance to do in the garden, and I've just been falling behind. If you're new here, hi, my name is Marsha. I'm the Black Thumb Gardener. I live in Ontario, Canada, USDA Zone 5B, and welcome to my backyard garden. If you're new here, I'd love for you to subscribe, and if you're returning, welcome back, and thank you for supporting my channel. Now let's get started. So I'm going to start off with fertilizing the garden. Now there isn't a lot to fertilize. We do have some new seedlings that have sprouted, but I'm really focused on my Brassica patch. I'm using the ProMix liquid fertilizer. I've been using this in my garden for the past few years. I do usually plant a granular fertilizer when I'm putting seedlings in, and then I'll top it up each week with a liquid fertilizer. Now, I don't know about you, but I have been far behind on fertilizing the garden. I usually stick to a weekly schedule, and I have not done that at all. So I figured since the Brassica patch is growing very nicely, now would be a good time to just hit it with a bit of fertilizer and get it home to the end of the season. Hopefully that will give it enough. I don't think I'm going to fertilize again after this because I don't think the Brassica patch needs more fertilizer. But after that, we're going to walk around the garden. There are a lot of fall flowers that are blooming right now, and I'm excited to show those to you. Okay, so there you have it. We have baby cabbage. This is, I think, gypsy broccoli. I'm missing some tags. And then over here, I have some lacinato kale. And then here we have some cauliflower. We have one cauliflower plant. Maybe I might stick one more in. Then we have, oh, this is gypsy broccoli. This is Atlantis broccoli. We have a Brussels sprout here, and another baby cabbage, another Brussels sprout, and red boar kale. If you missed my last video, this is my entire 9-foot Vago garden bed of brassicas that I planted. I started this from seed probably about a month and a half ago. This was in August that I started it, and I have an entire fall garden playlist which includes some of my fall seed starting. Now if you look over here, you can see that I have some parsley, which was from the summertime, but the first thing I wanted to highlight is the small or baby cabbage. This is coming together so nicely. I'm hoping that we get a harvest before the frost, but I don't know. We're gonna see what happens. All of these plants can take somewhat of a frost, but I'm really hoping I get something out of it before that happens. And then behind it, we have some broccoli. We have a few broccoli plants in this bed, and it's looking really good. I don't know if we have, nope, nothing is forming yet, but it will soon. I'm very confident. And then in front of that, we have another broccoli variety. I think that one might be gypsy, and this one might be Atlantis broccoli. And then over here, I believe this is cauliflower. Now guys, I'm so bad with labeling this year. Next year I will be better. And then behind that is lacinato kale. And then over here we have Brussels sprouts. Now Brussels sprouts usually take about 100 days, so I don't know if this one will be harvested before the frost, but we're just gonna see. And then over here we have some more broccoli, and I think this is also a cauliflower. And then over there we have some red boar kale. We have another Brussels sprout plant, and this is another baby cabbage. And in between all of these plants we have some autumn king carrots that we thinned together in the last video. And we also have down here some beets. And then going back here, we do have some dill that I've planted in between. I like to plant dill with my Brassica, so we'll be doing a big harvest of dill later on. We have some green onions at the end, and I think that's it for this bed. Okay, now that this is done, I can finally move over to this part of the garden. So we're going to start off in this bed. In our last video, I started some lettuce seeds in this bed, and it looks like something was digging in this bed to get to some of the seed. Those are some of the challenges I have in this garden. Every time I start seeds, something is always digging to get at the seeds in the beds. I believe I planted spinach seeds, and I'm having a really hard time having spinach seeds stay in the garden because something is just constantly digging to get at it. So I don't know if something's going to end up coming up. I might just throw in some more seeds, but as you can see, I'm having something digging around the garden, and we'll see that in the third bed as well. But in this bed we have some ginger, some celery, 2 celery plants in this bed. We have some carrots that we thinned together that are looking really good after thinning. I don't know if you can see that, but you see that? Looking really good. So let me just pull one out. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Let's try this one. Oh, that looks so good. We have a bit of parsley and green onion, but that's pretty much all that's going on in this bed. I'm gonna take this one down soon and plant some garlic. We're gonna move on to this bed, and we spent a lot of time going through this bed together. We have some sunflowers, and they had aphids on them, but it looks like most of them are gone. So this is the Italian white sunflower by West Coast Seeds. We do have some verbena here, and we also have some, I think this is gomphrena. So I put a lot of flowers in this bed. And over here we also have some cosmos. These are going to be some white snow puff cosmos. And in between all of that, we have some beets that we started from seed together. This is some winter Dutch lettuce, and then we have some arugula, and in between that you can see we planted some spinach. And look at that, it's been dug into again. So something really likes the spinach seeds. I don't know what, probably squirrels or maybe birds. And then we also planted, I believe this is the romaine lettuce over here. And again, I don't know what it is, but something just keeps digging in the bed for spinach. So spinach is a hot commodity in this garden. And then we also have over here, this is some nasturtiums. So I planted nasturtiums again for the fall garden. In the last video, this plant was blooming, but I guess it just stopped blooming now. And then on the ends, we have some sugar snap peas, and I think, look, I have one pod to harvest. I'm just going to quickly fertilize this bed, and then we'll move on to the third one. Okay, now that this bed is fertilized, I'm gonna move on to that one, but later on when I'm done, I might just drop in a few more spinach seeds, or maybe I'll start them indoors and then bring them outside and transplant them, because something clearly likes to eat the seeds. And because I've planted them in both beds and both beds have been dug up, something just really wants to eat them. So maybe I'll gamble and put some more in the beds. So moving on, this third bed right here, this is where we had our tomatoes, and we took out the tomatoes together. That was in my summer clean out video. And since then, I've kind of left this bed. My intention is to harvest. I have 2 celery plants in this bed, and they are just ginormous now. Look at that. And my intention is to harvest the celery in these beds, get rid of the onions. I have some basil that's not really doing anything right now, and just completely clear out this bed and start putting in my garlic. So I have received my garlic order from veggies. I'm going to be doing an unboxing in the next video, but I think it's time to get the garlic in the ground because my first frost is coming up in 2 weeks. So that's all that's going on in this bed. But one thing I do want to show you that I don't really focus on is the marigolds that we have here. This is the Sparsky mixed marigold, and this is from seeds that I saved from 2022. So you really don't need to buy new seeds every year. You can save seeds from your garden and continually plant them in your garden over and over again. I'm letting this one go to seed, and then I'm going to collect the seeds from this year and just keep repeating it over and over again. So this is the Sparsky mixed marigold, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And then in here I also have a variegated sage. I don't cook with sage a lot, but I do have it all around the garden, and this is just really for decor. I'm not really using this. It's just something that's pretty to look at. But isn't it gorgeous? Moving on, we're gonna walk around here. So we have a lot of zinnias that we planted in this container. There are 2 containers, one here and one over there. This container is mainly cactus mixed zinnia, and you can see how gorgeous the cactus zinnia is. I am telling you, zinnia seeds are so cheap, and if you really want a flower garden, then the best and cheapest way to do it is just to start some zinnia seeds. So gorgeous. Over here we have some in my, I think this is the 4th bed. That's right. 1, 2, 3. This is the 4th bed. And this was probably the 2nd or 3rd bed I built in the garden. And this has been here for a few years now. Okay, in this bed we have calendula, some tomatoes, some basil, peppers, oregano, and also some more sage. But right now I'm going to show you the calendula flowers. I can't remember the mix or what variety this calendula is, but it has been prolific throughout the season. Now what I've been doing is just cutting off the spent flowers, and it just has blooms. It just continually has blooms. Now I'm going to try and harvest as many flowers as I can before the season ends. I have been saving and drying calendula flowers and hoping to make some sort of salve with it in the winter season. So I really need to get on top of things, cut this back, and then harvest some of the flowers as they appear. Moving on, we do have 3 tomato plants, I believe, left in the garden. This is one of 3. This is the sunrise sauce tomato. And if you saw my tomato sauce or tomato preservation video, I would have created a batch of sunrise sauce on its own. So I left this tomato plant here because it was still producing, and it looks like I do have 2 tomatoes that I need to harvest. So once we're done, we're going to go around the garden and harvest some goodies. But I'm leaving this plant here to the end of the season. And then down here we have some Thai peppers. Look, I've left this one too long. Something's gone inside of it. And we also have some jalapeno peppers that I guess are turning red now. I've left it too long. I mentioned before that I'm having a really bad Oops. Let me go here. So I mentioned before I'm having a really bad pepper year. None of my hot peppers are doing well, and none of my sweet peppers are doing well. So my summer garden was a big flop this year, except for my tomatoes. But next year I'm going to do better. I think because I started some of these plants late, that's why they didn't do well. I really didn't pay attention to them. I put them in places they weren't getting a lot of sun. So mistakes, lessons learned. I will change that for next year. Then we have some basil, and I've been picking off of this basil for pesto for my son. And then we have some sage here. Again, I'm not using this. I don't know what to do with this sage. And then we have some oregano here that I desperately need to harvest. I am in love with this. This is my Cosmo container. Now I do have zinnias in here, and there's I think one zinnia flower. Honestly, I planted zinnias and cosmos in both of these containers, and for some reason the cosmos disappeared in this container, but they popped up here, and I'm not mad at it. Look how gorgeous these cosmos are. I am just in love with it. In the fall, I really wanted to have flowers still in my garden. Sometimes what I do is I plant all my flowers in the summer, and then by the time October rolls around, they've died out, they're done for the season. And I really wanted something fresh for fall. So I planted all of these flowers at the end of August, I believe, started them from seed. And I'm so happy to see that they're finally blooming. It looks amazing. And the bees are loving them too. Okay, we're gonna circle around to this bed, and I think this is a 4-foot bed just because I was future-proofing my garden because I did not want to bend to reach certain plants. Moving away from the wasps, so in this bed I do have one tomato plant. This is a Plum Regale Roma tomato, and it looks like I have some things to harvest. They're just, honestly, if you want a determinate tomato plant that will continue to produce throughout the season, get this tomato plant. Look at this. It's a determinate tomato plant, but it's just producing non-stop. I don't know what to say, but this tomato plant will forever be in my garden. So I also have some sweet peppers here, and they're finally getting bigger, but oh, this just fell off. See, it's not doing well. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's not enough sun. I do have some drying beans in this bed as well. That's over here. So I'm hoping to harvest this probably in late October. I do have some Asian greens I started from seed and some radishes that we thinned out in the last video. And then of course we have our strawberry blonde marigold. Absolutely gorgeous. I love this flower. When we built our side fall containers, we added this to the orange ones. Look at that. It starts off with this kind of red tone and then transitions into this dusty orange. Absolutely beautiful. And then of course on the end of this bed I do have some parsley, because parsley is something that I use almost every day in my kitchen, and I just figured that I wanted as much as possible because I wanted to fill a glass jar, and I did, and now I don't know what to do with the rest of the parsley. Okay, moving on, we're gonna go to these containers. Now you wouldn't believe it, there are 3 containers here. This one is just exclusively for flowers, and again, I started these flowers in the summer. I've just been cutting back the zinnias. And then I also have some Mexican sunflowers that I've just been waiting on patiently for it to bloom. I think I started this in maybe early August from seed, and I just wanted to see if it would bloom for the fall. So I'm hoping, I think it's almost there. we'll see what happens. And then down below we have 2 containers. This is where we had our failed tomato experiment. And here I have some drying beans. I think I planted kidney beans in one and maybe calypso beans in the other, but they're coming along really nicely. I think it's going to take at least another month or so for these guys to finally grow big enough and dry. So this is probably a late October project. And one more thing I forgot is I have eucalyptus in the garden. It's just in different places. I don't talk about it a lot, but here you go, eucalyptus. It smells amazing. Okay, moving on, we're gonna grab this. We have another 4-foot bed, and these beds are connected with an arch. And on this arch, I do have a tomato plant. And this is another Roma called Posano by West Coast Seed. It's a cousin of San Marzano. And look, the tomatoes. Guys, I cannot believe I'm at the end of September and I still have tomatoes that are producing. Like, I honestly believe I'm gonna have tomatoes right up until the end of October at this point. Okay, so other than the tomato plants, I'm gonna show you some interesting things that have been happening. So one, I have this, I think this is a cantaloupe plant that we started together. This was a summer seed starting activity, and nothing has happened with this cantaloupe plant. I think that's because, I don't know if I don't have enough female or male, what's going on, but nothing is happening with this cantaloupe, and I'm just leaving it here, hoping maybe, okay, one day something will happen. Actually, look, is that it? Is that it? Okay, it's way too late in the season, but I'm just leaving it, seeing what happens. And then here I have some more beans that I planted in, I believe it was late August. The Japanese beetle was attacking this plant, but I think now that Japanese beetle season is done, they're leaving the plants alone. And look, I have a lot of beans. So again, this is going to be kind of a late fall activity. And then in this bed, I do also have some peppers that are doing nothing. Actually, I have one pepper plant that is ready to harvest. Just this one. And then I have a celery plant. Okay, I think next year I am not going to plant as much celery as I have, because there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 celery plants left in the garden. Way too much, and I don't really eat a lot of celery, and the reason I haven't harvested yet is because I don't know what to do with it. I'm thinking to do one big harvest soon and then just do a whole bunch of juicing of celery. What do you think? Is that a good idea, or should I do something else with celery? Okay, so other than celery, which is just taking up this entire space, I do have some lavender, organic lavender that has not bloomed because obviously this celery plant is just taking up all the space. And then what's exciting here on the end is some alyssum. So I think a couple of videos ago, I had alyssum that was growing here in this blueberry plant. I guess it was from seeds that were from the plant that I had here. And I transplanted that over here, and I wasn't sure if it was going to take. I wanted something fresh for the fall. And look, it's alive, it's surviving, and it's looking so beautiful and fresh. And I'm so happy about that, because this plant was struggling for a while and it finally made it through on the other side. Behind me is my back flower garden, and I don't really spend a lot of time talking about this garden because it's in complete disarray. It was okay during the spring when I had all of the daffodils coming up, some of the nepeta coming up. It was gorgeous. But when the summer came, things just got out of hand, and I just haven't spent time attending to this garden. The peonies were gorgeous. My peony patch looked amazing. But after that, things took a nosedive, and I really didn't do much with this back garden bed. And I do want to spend October really focusing on cleaning up this bed, cutting back plants that needed to be cut back desperately, and also planting a lot of the clearance plants that I picked up in this garden bed. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to briefly walk through what I have here, but know that it will look better than this next year. So I'm going to go from right to left, and on this right hand side we have a hosta. I divided this hosta this year and put part of it in the front, and ever since I did that, it's been recovering and looking really bad. And I just want to cut this back now and just give it some breathing room for the fall and let it recuperate and grow again in the spring. It is a really big hosta and takes up a lot of room. I just thought it was good to divide it, and that's something I'll do often in my garden. I'll make free plants out of current plants. So this is the only clear section I have in this space, and I planted some dahlia tubers here. I made a huge mistake putting the dahlia tubers here because it doesn't get enough sun. This is more of a shade section. I do have some astilbe here, but I did end up with a couple of dahlias that are flowering. Other than that, I really shouldn't have planted the dahlias here. I really didn't have space in my garden for the dahlias, but I wanted to do it anyways. Beside this little mini dahlia patch, I do have my peony patch, and the peonies were absolutely gorgeous this year, but now they have some mildew on them. You see that? And I think it's time to cut them back. Now, I would have cut this back already. The only reason I didn't is because I wanted to add more plants in the garden, and I wanted to get an idea of how big these guys grew before I added those plants in the garden. Because, you know, sometimes when you cut back a plant, you don't realize how big it is when you start to add other plants into the garden. And then you know, when it's next season and they're growing, you realize, uh-oh, I planted them too close together. So I really just wanted to get kind of a spatial awareness of how big these plants were before I added more plants in the garden. But they're doing really poorly right now with all of this mildew. So it's really time for me to get this, cut this back, get rid of the leaves, and just figure out what to do next. Because once this is in the garden, it's going to spread to potentially my zinnias and some of my other plants, and I really don't want that. One of the big issues I have in my back garden is this dogwood, and that is because it is massive. It pretty much shades the entire garden, or at least the entire back garden. And this is supposed to be a dwarf dogwood. That is why I picked it up, and it's been here for probably, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years. Anyways, it's nice, the birds love it, but it just takes up so much space in the garden, and I want to add more plants. I'm so tempted to remove it, but I'm not doing it because, you know, it does add a lot of structure to the garden, but it just takes up so much space. And the Japanese beetles just love to eat on the leaves and hang out. I don't know, I'm kind of torn. I want to get rid of it, but also it's been here for so long, I feel like it's part of the family. I don't know what to do. Now, I had created this garden bed before I added all of these raised beds, and I feel like I need to rethink this garden bed because it doesn't get a lot of view time because it's behind the raised beds. And when it's spring, summer, I really spend all my time here versus actually looking at the garden. So in this garden, I do have some echinacea that I started from seed probably 5 years ago. And this continues to reseed every year, and it comes up every year. Like, if you want a perennial in your garden that you started from seed, I highly recommend that you try echinacea because it just keeps coming back and it looks beautiful. This needs to be cut back. A lot of these plants need to be cut back, and I've just been lazy. I've honestly been lazy with getting to this. And when it's summer, when there's a heat wave and it's hot, I don't want to be back here. That's why I added irrigation here this year, so I didn't have to come back here. But it's fall now, it's looking really bad, and it's time to clean it up. One addition I did make this year to this back bed, other than some plants, which I will go through, is this fountain. And this fountain has been beautiful throughout the season. My only complaint about this garden is that the fountain only works in the sun because it's a solar fountain. But because this area is so shaded, this fountain only works for like a couple hours of the day. And then the rest of the time, it's kind of in this state where it's trying to spurt water, but it can't because there's not enough sun. So I'm really tempted to move it to a full sun location, maybe somewhere around here, but there's no space, or maybe even in between, like maybe moving one of the containers and putting the fountain in between. One thing that has been nice is the pollinators have loved this fountain, as well as the birds. They're always bathing in the fountain, so it's nice to do some bird watching and see who's coming by and using the fountain. It desperately needs to be cleaned, and I will do that later on. But I think adding water to your garden makes a huge difference to the insects, the pollinators, the animals that are nearby. Just be aware that if you are adding water to your garden, that you might bring more than you expected. So over here we have, I guess what I consider the rose patch. This is Olivia Rose Austin. She's not blooming right now. She was blooming, but she's not blooming right now. And I've had this rose for a few years. And then beside her is a new climbing rose I picked up this year. It's not blooming, and I just haven't, again, I haven't done a good job of staking these roses. I have another one in the garden that I picked up this year from Loblaws for about 30 bucks. And again, I just haven't tended to them. I haven't gone back in and fertilized them. So again, I just need to stay on top of it. This is an elderberry. I don't know if you can see that. This is an elderberry that I've added for a few years. I cut this back heavily, and so it's just starting to grow back and build back its leaves. And then down here I have some, I think this is millennium allium. It was gorgeous. The bees loved it. The bees were all over it this summer, but again, it's out of bloom. And I think I have a picture or a video I can show you when it was blooming. And then the last thing I'm going to show you in this back garden, right now I do have some black-eyed Susans that are blooming, and I picked this up, I think it was from Costco, for 15 bucks. So I have about 2 or 3 plants in here that are blooming right now. It's nice to see. I also have some Shasta daisies here, but I also have some delphiniums that are looking really bad right now. It looks like, I don't know, slugs or something ate at it. So again, I just have a lot of maintenance to do. And I do have some clematis as well that was hanging, and I put a little stake there to hold the clematis. I also have a clematis over there on that trellis. Gorgeous, it bloomed, but again, I just haven't spent a lot of time going through this back garden. What I have been enjoying is this side garden here, and I created this side garden last fall and added some pavers to the bottom, and this is flanking my 9-foot Vago bed. And here I have some Baptisia that was absolutely beautiful in the spring, and I've left it here to continue to soak up the sun and get more energy for next year. And beside that, I have a tangerine geum and then a rose of Sharon, which is blooming. And then beside that, I have this shrub. This is, what is this actually? Philip's Magic Moment Arborvitae. It's absolutely gorgeous. But a lot of these plants I notice are filled with webs, and I really need to do a better job of maintaining them. And below that, I planted some petunias. So these are white petunias. On the other side, I have a raspberry plant. Again, the petunia theme continuing. We have a blue spruce. This is a dappled willow, and then we have the other climbing rose. This one is gorgeous. Okay, now we're heading up onto the deck where I have the Greenstalk, and we'll do a quick view of the Greenstalk. Before I get there, I have these summer containers that I added, and this had the petunias from Proven Winners. I can't remember the name, but it was absolutely stunning. And I took out those petunias and added some violas and pansies. I think the colors just give me a fall vibe. And then over here we have the Greenstalk, which has seen better days, and I'm seeing some webbing up here that I need to deal with as well. So the top layer, we have some spinach that's growing nicely. I noticed something was munching on some of the spinach plants, so I don't know what that is. Maybe some slugs or something else. I don't know what I planted here. And I do have some magenta purple spinach here. This layer, I have some Asian greens, so some Napa cabbage and bok choy, which is being decimated. And then in this level, I have some more oregano. This is some rosemary that I planted. I have some broccoli. Now, any brassicas here are being sprayed with BT just because the cabbage moth is just coming by and eating it. Over here I have a parsley plant, and then here I have a tomato plant that has seen better days and needs to be removed. And then the next level down, I have some more, I think this is cilantro that I planted. This is something that should be here and something that should not be here. So what is here is some lemon thyme. Oh, it smells so good. And then something else, a weed that's in here that shouldn't be here. And then over here we have another pepper plant. I just harvested one of the peppers the other day for dinner. And then below that, oh, and then we have some tarragon here. And then below that we have our lacinato kale. Oops. And then some more beans. And that is everything going on in the Greenstalk. Now, I did mention I have some clearance plants that I need to get into the garden. I just stuffed them in here in these side containers. I have a black lace elderberry. This was like $7. It's a Proven Winners plant. I do have, this is new for me, Sugartina crystallina. And then over here we have a Blooming Easy Date Night Tuxedo Weigella. So all of these plants need to get into the garden. The last things I want to show you is this display here. We have some spinach, which we started from seed not too long ago. And because we've had some heavy rain, it's already sprouted. Right? And then over here, I don't really talk about this space very often. I think I did mention it in my last video, but we do have some verbena that I started from seed. This was for the fall garden, and it's finally starting to bloom, and I'm really happy about that. And then down here, we just have a few things in pots, like my rosemary. I'm gonna pluck some today because I'm making a roast chicken. And then we have some more clearance plants that I need to get into the garden. And then we have some spearmint. And that's it. Thank you for watching. I know this may be somewhat repetitive from the last video, but I just wanted to give you a full tour of what my garden looks like in September, so you can get an idea, if you're in zone 5 like me, what your garden could look like at the end of September. Let me know in the comments what you still have in the garden in September, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.